Which college will transform our pagan world? Learn anything, anywhere, anytime.
A model we've been doing for more than 25 years since they originally set that out, the law system. And we have provided magical education to the pagan world for now more than 35 years online. We've been there since the World Wide Web was born, and a little bit before. And so, welcome to the Pagan Show. Tonight, we're making this also probably the first episode of Which College. WhичCollege.com is open right now. We're doing a very soft beta rollout, meaning it's just beginning, and that's at WhичCollege.com. So I'm very excited about it. And we've been talking about building the village and building a town and building a campus. We've been maturing it. We've been doing this conversation for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, we spent a lot of time looking at what possibilities there are, what ideas we are, and everything else. And so tonight we're announcing which college. We're announcing that. Now, understand, I wrote something earlier today, and I'll be putting it out, but understand, we're not going to go about some of these ideas that people are doing. There we go. So, one of the things, so people are going to say, we have got, more than 25 years in witch school, a little more in the Daily Spell, even a little bit more of telepathic media. We have Don's Monday night chats. Where can they find your Monday night chats, Don?
RevDonLewis.com, my Patreon.
And that'll be tonight, right? Right after this.
Yeah, right after this at 8 p.m. Central.
All right.
Going since 1998.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to say this is that we're not going to be getting into the clergy aspects of it. Why would we do that? If you want quality clergy and counseling training, look to Witch School, which is the Corellian Educational Ministry Seminary. Cherry Hill Academy Seminary, also an online school, has been there as long as we have been. I always have trouble pronouncing the other one, the ATC.
Wolstenstein
Seminary, which is also good.
Mm-hmm.
So, these are solid founding members. They have always been the icebreakers and true founders of the Pagan online clergy training. They have individually decades of experience. Each one of them on their own are decades of experience, service, and being present. They have handled
each one of them on their own has their own unique programs, their own unique flavor.
Mm-hmm. Hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people have been impacted by what these schools have done and will continue to do so. 3 approaches, like you said, Don. They have developed fantastic training and globally impactful leadership. And we need them to continue for the sake of our future.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but which college is not this? Let's go right off that. We don't care about the models of modern education systems right now that are focused on indoctrination and extraction in exchange for status. Most schools models out there are built for that. And true knowledge transmission is just a byproduct. So we're building something called a collegium, which is an association with a setting for a group of professionals, religious or political purposes. But which is our polymaths, who are often audatic self-learners. Pagans, even more so. We have so many learning styles that defies many orderly systems. We have seen this as vital to our next level skills. We are genius. He keeps wanting to turn into geniuses, but we as a community are genius, and we can develop that in all open and willing minds. There you go. Because I know the first thing out of people's mouths is, "Oh, they're going to compete." Huh?
No, it's not a competition. It's a different subject.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extension. It is not. It's simply not the same thing.
Okay, so we're going to jump.
If we wanted to do the same thing, we'd be doing it where we've always been.
And, you know, what fun is doing the same thing, but it is going back to a promise we made.
Yes.
And that promise was when we started Witch School and where we started this. We wanted to return it back. We wanted to turn it back. Hello, everybody. We wanted to turn back to Danville, which we're going to do this before this evening. You'll understand how we're returning back with this project to Danville in 2029, how we're going to be there. And also, we've always said we wanted a college. We've always felt it necessary. And we've done that. We've got a great seminary through Other People's Hands, CEM. And we're not involved with CEM. Can you talk a little bit about CEM right now, where they're at with Witch School?
Well, CEM is now in the hands of the second generation. They're doing a wonderful job. They're moving forward. They're building new structures, and they're finding new ways to implement the clergy making process, which is a wonderful process, if I say so myself. And they are doing a wonderful job with it. This is looking at something else. And, you know, when I retired from my position as first priest of the Corellian tradition, one of the things I said I wanted to do is I wanted to go back to the arts. For many years, I had put the arts on a back burner, although it was still part of my ministry. And of course, you know, I certainly haven't stopped being a priest. In fact, I'm still a first priest retired within the tradition. I do not lose that standing. But now I have time to focus on other things I didn't have time for many, many years.
So I'm going to let you talk after I go ahead and make the official announcement. And then, I'm going to have you, we're going to be talking about this for the rest of the time. As a core component of our Witch School project, Reverend Don Lewis's next project is the Abby Willowroot Theater. It might be Art Center by the time we get there, opening May 2nd, 2029. The next project of this campus will be to create a program over the next 3 years that will complete on May 2nd with an active play going on that has been created by the students. His most ambitious project was classes, workshops, and hands-on creation of art, language, and ways to express the divine. The theater, as part of this program, will be designed from the ground up, a stage designed and to be built to premiere its first play May 2nd, 2029, globally broadcast. The theater stage will be presented with everything he's created over 3 years, with a great group of students, a great program. When the stage opens, this playhouse will have a steady set of performances that can be attended locally and globally. Reverend Don Lewis will lead this 3-year program from ground up of building a Center for the Arts from May 2026 to May 2029. This is physically intended for Danville, Illinois. And of course, online at Witch College.
Yes.
That's the official knowledge. That's our direction.
So when we talk about the Abby Willowroot Center, when we talk about theaters and plays, we're talking about ritual theater. We're talking about mystery plays. We're talking about a spiritual project using the arts. If you're familiar with my writings, which I assume some people watching probably are, you know that I have said for 30 years that the arts are one of the best ways to reach people, one of the best ways to disseminate spiritual teachings. And, you know, I've spent a lot of years writing things, but that's only one way to advance these ideas. The beloved Abby Willowroot is known for the Goddess 2000 project, which some of you will remember. It was a massive art project, international in scale, whose purpose was to put a goddess on every block. And this is part of the inspiration behind this idea, to bring our modern pagan spiritual teachings into global life through the arts. And, you know, people absorb art in a very different way than they absorb written material. It is a very different process, and it is, in my opinion, a more, well, certainly a more creative process, and I think a better way to convey spiritual ideas, because it is not as absolute as the written word can be. It leaves a lot more to the higher self, to the subconscious, to the person's higher understanding. And you can look at the same artwork, the same mystery play, and absorb it on multiple different layers at once, which is a lot harder to do with the written word. If you look at any famous historical painting, most of them, you can find several different ways to understand them when you look at them. All of them are intentional, and that is an important part. And if you're familiar with the Greek language and the idea of trying to translate from Greek to English, particularly classical Greek, you'll know that one of the big problems is that very often these words have a multitude of different meanings. But the way that the ancient Greeks wrote, they meant all of them at once.
And so let me stop you here. This is the quality of education and information that Don and his team is going to provide to you at the Witch College, this 3-year program. Because Don is very experienced in all this. He's very knowledgeable. And as you can see, he was about to give us an even deeper explanation. But let's go ahead and talk about one of the ways this would work. We have built systems called peer-to-peer educational systems. Now, Witch School today has moved into more of a seminary style, but it started out being peer-to-peer. The main style, and what does that mean? We teach each other. So let's go ahead and talk. You've already begun along the syllabus. You've got a number of ideas that you want to create. One of the most exciting ways I think is puppets. I love puppets. People have talked about this. So can you talk about the sacred art of puppets for a moment? Huh?
Yes, I can certainly talk about that. Puppetry is very old. We know about it through many centuries. And in most places, it was used in the way theater in general was used to express religious and spiritual ideas. If you look, for example, at the famous Javanese shadow puppets, they're used to portray mythology and spiritual understanding. So puppetry, historically speaking, has a long spiritual background. But in the modern world, puppetry offers us a way to undertake the expression of the themes we wish to convey, in this case, spiritual themes, in a particularly stylized sort of way, a way that gives a certain distance from the physicality that you have with live action. The particular kind of puppetry that I'm probably going to be focusing on will be stop motion puppetry, because that's what I specialize in. As it happens, this very afternoon, this subject came up, and how fascinating puppetry can be. And because puppetry is almost, well, in this context, in miniature, puppetry doesn't have to be in miniature. Puppets can be gigantic. But it allows you to do things you could not mount at a full-scale size. You can have a much wider stage with puppets than you could usually do with humans.
And so this is one of the things you want to teach.
Yes.
And at the same time, build workshops where people can come in and practice these materials with the cameras.
Yeah. And build your own puppets. Build your own props and sets, and learn how to move them on film. Both through old-fashioned stop-motion animation, through hand animation, and also through computer animation.
And this, we want to have a permanent center for this, a real honest place where people can travel all over the world and come here to work on these things. And at the same time, we can go out to the entire world and bring them this information. This is something that people have to understand. Which college is completely modernized? We modernized the way online teachings have worked. We've gone into how the radio and how pagans communicate. Over the last 40 years, we have focused on how pagans communicate, and we've created networks that have expanded around the world and continue to expand around the world. But that is now going to be the greatest challenge, because I want you to talk about how you've always said art is more permanent than books, that it is more going to be seen by future cultures. They're more likely to tell a story. They're more likely to do that mythology. They're more likely to dig up our statuary than they are our books. Now, we love the fact that they might get our books, but art has always been more important in conveying religious thought. Can you express that a little bit? Why is it a sacred
Well,
art?
remember when you were a child and people encouraged you to read. What books did you want to read? The ones with pictures. People will hold on to art that has meaning to them where they won't hold on to other things. A lot of the valuable history of really any culture is in the preservation of its art. In some cases, even art that is in a ruined state from antiquity carries on the ideas of that culture in ways that the written word is often unable to do. And if you look at the great historical buildings around the world, a great many of them are churches and temples, but almost all of them are full of artwork. And one of the reasons they've continued to be upheld is that they're full of artwork that people want to hold on to. People tend to treasure their artwork and to maintain it when other properties would be allowed to go. It becomes a part of culture. It is hard to imagine Italy without things like the Sistine Chapel or the David of Michelangelo, or the frescoes of Giotto. And these things built their way into consciousness, and art does that. Art helps us to express our ideas in ways that people will strive to maintain.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the picture right behind your head. Isn't that literally an example of something we're talking about?
Well, yes, actually. I mean, that is the copy of a fresco of Nebamun and his wife at Shepsut hunting birds in the papyrus thicket. And it comes from the tomb of Nebamun, and it's very, very ancient. It's from the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt.
And my God. And that's ancient? I mean, that piece behind you is ancient?
The original is ancient. This is a copy. And, but it carries forward that idea from millennia ago.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I wouldn't go so far as say it's a perfect reproduction, but it's a pretty damn good reproduction. And it carries forward all of the ideas that are in that original artwork. And what are those ideas? One of the things that Egyptologists did not originally understand, but have come to understand, is, this is not a depiction of a hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Ancient Egyptian nobles did not go hunting in the papyrus stands in their finest court attire. They did not go dressed up for an imperial appearance, but you can see that's how they're shown here, this really has to do with the idea of life after death and conquering over the forces of chaos and instability. And that is what is actually depicted in the picture.
And I'm going to do my job. I'm a hype man these days, but I really want to show this is a quality of information that we're going to get to you, and also to focus our mission forward, because if this painting lasted thousands of years in being in our culture, what can we create in this lifetime and lifetimes in the future that are going to carry our culture? And that's why, and I want to talk for a minute about Abby Willowroot. Reverend Abby Willowroot, High Priestess of the Karelian Nativist tradition.
Yep.
And so she is actually very important to me. And she's a Smithsonian artist that she passed a number away years ago. And her number one influence was the Goddess 2000 project, art on every block, everyone who has a crayon. And I joined her, and together she taught me, and I carried out the functions of creating a global network that had never been created before, for the sole purpose of creating art. And what was art? Anything you wanted to create to express the goddess. And this moved it out. And so that had not just the impact of the art, but for me, it also had an impact how we would build networks, such as, we took it to the Parliament of World Religions. We took it around physical objects. And then it went out into the world through the internet. I mean, it was the internet that built it and brought to the world physicality.
And it brought together people who previously, many of them thought they couldn't work together.
Mm-hmm.
They thought they'd never see something like that.
Right.
But artwork was able to overcome political limitations. It was able to overcome all kinds of different separations, including geographical separations, and give people something they could come together over. It was a very unifying moment. And it could not have been done through a different medium, I don't believe. Not at that time.
No, the paper costs, and this is one of the first times we learned about paper costs and how can we finance a witch college, because of the lessons learned out of the Goddess 2000 project. And I cannot think of any other way to remember her in such a way, but to back you 100% in building a center that's in her honor. Because she told us, who's an artist? Everyone can pick up a crayon.
Yeah.
And how can we not bring that more into the world?
This is absolutely so. Art is something that everyone can do, and most people enjoy doing.
So people are asking me, why Danville, Illinois? And I always...
Why not?
Well, they always come back with the harshness of it, that it's a very harsh environment, job-losing, small town, 25, 30,000 people. At its height, it was only 45,000 people with another 30,000 people around. It's never been a big city. But it's been a city that has really was a heavyweight for its size in industrial and building good quality lives. But most importantly, it was where the Karelian tradition lived. It's where our body... And so I've learned a phrase that people want to know. So how does this college answer to our ancestors? How does this sacred art answer to your ancestors? And why do you want it there? I've said this before, that, where are, and I've asked this question of pagans, I've asked thousands of questions, but one of the questions that really upset people when I woke up one day with a dream is, where are your bones, bodies, and dust?
Yep.
Where are
they're here?
Right. I mean, part of my process for the larger project, I plan to be buried. Actually, I've given up the idea of being loose-sighted. I'd rather, and maybe I'll be loose-sighted underground. Yes, for a long time, that was my contempt of it. But I also realized the value if I were to be laid to rest. So my family doesn't have any funerals. We've been cremated for generations. We exist in some closet somewhere. I actually don't know where my family is. I don't, and I don't know how many others. So I don't know how many other families have that same problem. I literally do not know where my family's bodies are. My
Mhm.
physical DNA family, I just don't know where they're at. I mean, for generations, where my mom is, my dad is, my grandparents, I just don't know. And that's
Mhm.
very disconnecting for people who want to do an ancestor worship.
That's true.
And
And
so,
in my family, we have very specific locations where we are. We know where we are. If you follow my Facebook page, you've seen me visit the family tombs on numerous occasions.
mhm.
If you've ever come to Lustration and Danville, you probably went on the tour with us.
And so by creating a theater, so let's go ahead and take on the last thing. How are we going to pay for this? It's one thing for us to say that we're going to do this. Hmm?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
our and let's talk about our track record already, because I think that's important. We have built amazing systems that have been independent, that we have paid for from various ways. And surprisingly, people would not realize the first thing we really paid for, and it was profitable for a while, was psychic services.
Yeah.
It was the first co-working office for psychics.
Hmm.
And we ran that as, people would come in and be able to rent it because people were doing readings at home.
Yeah.
And they were just doing the readings at home and people felt uncomfortable. So we created at Six Corners in Chicago,
Hmm.
at Irving, at that, we in the building, we basically created a co-sharing or temporary. You rented a desk and you can do readings. We gave you all problem. We had a small ritual room. We did rituals. We did performances. That's
Hmm.
where that's where the thing came out. So yeah, we started there. We had our first psychic
Yeah.
app, and out of that became Pagans Tonight Radio. But it would
Hmm.
start out as Psychic Chicago Radio,
Yeah.
radio that gets into your mind. And we had a lot of runs with that. And what we've learned from there is that a community is connected by its communications. So we went on to do telepathic media, which I still believe in today, that
Hmm.
all media is telepathic. And we have now entered into the phase I saw 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years ago, I was calling out exactly what is happening today. And we're ready for it. And that's
Yeah.
about which college.
Well,
Um,
and this is a very important point. We have always stood for being on the edge of technology.
mm-hmm,
I'm an old-fashioned fine artist, but I also use technology to my best advantage.
mm-hmm,
I'm well, I'm an old-fashioned writer whose first manuscripts were written out by hand,
mm-hmm,
but now I work on computers. Um, one must adapt as one goes in order to be able to continue to do the best work.
mm-hmm,
So when we talk about the courses that we're going to have at which college, they're going to involve technology and new ways of doing things, as well as history and time-honored ways of doing things. Because it's not enough to just keep repeating things. You have to continue expanding them also.
mm-hmm. So, one of the things I'm looking forward to is learning how to edit because we're
Hmm.
social broadcasters. So, you're not just an artist. So, this whole point is this is something called convergence.
Hmm.
This is where we've led our lives. I mean, we did a lot of tarot readings in the beginning that said a lot of things. And it's scary. And also we have the Principle Prophetica. We've
Yeah.
always been part of a prophetic movement, a sort of progressive movement. And they're different. We believe both in progression, meaning we are going to make decisions, the next right decision towards technology, towards useful technologies. That's progression. We have the phrase progress over perfection.
Hmm.
And then we do move prophetically. And a lot of this activity we're going to do over the next 3 is also prophetically. We need to have a place. So can you explain? You probably can do it better than most. And then we're going to talk directly about how we're going to raise money and why we need your help and why you can be part of this and where
Yes.
we can help you. But I want you to take a minute about faith practices, ideologies that tend to have a capital, because you've been in some of them. Like the Mormons have Salt Lake City.
Oh, yes.
And Novena and Navio here in Illinois for a while, in an interim earlier period.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Christianity has the concept of Jerusalem or the Catholic's Vatican.
Well, I mean, pretty much any
And why
movement
movement's towards that direction
has its capital or sacred spaces. Shinto has Issei Shrine, for example. Obviously, Islam has Mecca and the Kaaba. Catholicism has the Vatican, but also many other locations as well. But these form a kind of spiritual center for attention. And it allows you to bring together the works of people in a single place. The artwork. I was talking earlier about artwork in Renaissance Italy. But, if we look at Rome in particular, if we look at the Vatican in particular, one of the things that keeps it relevant, aside from the things it does, is the vast collection of artwork they have created, the vast collection of experiences that they offer. This is also true at the great temples of India or Japan, where they are usually themselves works of art, as well as being filled with works of art. And if we look at what is currently thought of as the oldest temple that humanity built, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, it is a total work of art. It's totally ornately carved. And this is how people have been from the beginning. The places that are important to them, they want to make beautiful. They want to maintain them. They want to express their ideas through them as well as in them. And this is part of what we're looking at. And Edward mentioned Salt Lake City when we went to the Parliament there. I still remember having a conversation with the now First Priestess, Lady Alyssa, about the beauty of the city. Now, one day we must have something similar ourselves. And I still have that point of view, that we need our own center of attention. We need our own place to gather our artwork, to gather our testimony for the ages. And, many of these places have had their ups and downs. Rome has been sacked, I don't know how many times over history. And yet, the artwork and the beautiful things in most cases survive. Florence has been sacked in history a number of times, but most of that artwork survives. In some cases, entire cultures have transformed into something new and different, but the artwork of their past survives, such as ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. Those ancient cultures have only so much in common with the current culture, but their ideas, their experiences, and their message to the universe survives through their artwork, far more than through their writing. And it seems to me that if we want to codify and maintain our teachings, our ideas, our understanding of the world, and pass it on to future generations, we must look to the arts as one of the main ways of doing that. And particularly in the current age, we must look at building locally. So that is what I would say to that.
So I agree. So let me go ahead and offer this. How are we going to finance it? This is going to sound so expensive. And in some ways it will be. In some ways it's not. We get caught up in our capitalistic systems, not realizing there are other ways to finance it. Witch School, while it raised more than $1 million over its period of time, to finance itself and continues to self-finance itself from these days, right? Remember, we built a system that's 25 years old. It is self-financing. And then they're doing it. If you want a lifetime back then at $29.99, and it's still good 25 years later. Today it's like $299. But would you make another bet, right? And we're going to do that with this program and everything else. We're starting a charter membership. And that means it's a very limited number. We're going to try to repeat it because we need seed money. And seed money is through charter memberships. And that'll get you into the program for 3 years. And other stuff we're going to do. And I'll talk about that. And that's going to be important. During this process, we're going to be able to teach people how to do the art. And we're going to create spaces in marketplaces so they can sell their art. They can either donate it to fundraisers. They can give it away to their communities. They can sell it at their booths at such events as Pagan Pride. It isn't just about us creating the center for this art, but also disseminates this art like Abby Willowroot would have to every block.
And another very important point. So for a lot of people who are artists, selling that art is not a skill that comes naturally. It's something we can teach.
And not only we can teach the artists, I plan to have programs. So one of the programs I'm offering on the first day, the school opens February 17th as the night of the Firehorse solar eclipse. And mine is going to be First Amendment, which is part of all of this for the pagans. Because what is art? And putting it in places, but First Amendment rights.
Absolutely.
And they burn, and people say, oh, they burn books. They burn art too.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
look at the Impressionist art of Germany in the 1920s. How little of it survives because they burned so much of it. But it still does survive.
Right, and we have methods to help this survive. So on a internet level, we've learned how to leverage the internet to create large structures that last long periods of time and then begin breeding changed behavior within the pagan community. It's a big boast, isn't it? But you just have to look at what we did from the email lists, the dailies, to the radio, to IRC radio, to magazines, to PDF magazines. And the list goes on to Witch School, to Pagan Tonight Radio, one of the most successful radio shows where we have thousands of hours of community, including the dead. Plus, we brought so many people to have their shows, including Circle Sanctuary, who's done theirs. And we have so many people who went on to be hosts. We've trained teachers. And then we did Witch School as well, which we've trained thousands of people and helped generate hundreds of groups that are mostly decentralized, taking care of their local area. And then we got Magic TV, and Magic TV is going to return to this project. Right now, it's under Corellian TV, but we're going to bring back Magic TV as well. And that was a very long time. We were some of the first people who actually did Pantheacon and other pagans, and we built the ethics system that made people comfortable with us and continue to be comfortable today on such shows as I'm doing as Ed the Pagan. And so we go there. So these projects continue to exist. Last year, we just started Gaia Thrift as a way to finance it. People have asked how I'm planning to finance it. Well, charter members is the first direct answer. Okay? It's good money. We just have to make sure we can keep you alive and keep you accessing to all the systems. If we can't do that, we can't continue to exist. And Witch School has proven that to us. Vegas Night Radio has proven to, and other projects you don't even know about, such as How We Save Festivals and all that. So we've had a lot of experience with this. But I'm telling you, so it's going to be charter members. Sign up for a free membership today. Just go there. Right now, do that for me. And right now,
where do you do that? Witchcollege.com.
And so there we go. So you go there. We're going to sign up. Start registering. This is the slow beta run. We're just announcing this today because of the Stella and Neptune to Aries, because our astrology for this year, my personal astrology, much of it for the next year is fucking amazing.
Yes, it is.
Oh, we do. We have been in compliance with the IRS for more than 30 years asking that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the answer to that is that, Witch School is in its 25th year. What does that say? It means there have been no problems.
Yeah.
Magic TV is in its 21st year now, or about to start its 21st year.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means there were no problems.
The Correllian Church Incorporated keeps their books. We know how to do this. I thank you for asking the question, Mr. McCoy, but it is one that we have solved. And I think, wasn't it the Witch School site or has for fundraising, or is it Correllian Native site?
The Correllian Church has the Platinum Award from a charity oversight organization.
So yes, because in this day and age, let's be honest with you, if we're trying to do something this big in this environment, we better keep our ducks in a row. We have to. And one of the things we're going to teach, because we also own witchgarter.com, I plan to start an incubation project I'm not going to talk about tonight that will help people deal with these issues as well. Because we're an exponential organization. But tonight we're talking about how to get this. And so the very end of this, so the charter memberships, we're going to have auction sales. We have the Correllian, we have direct donations, plus publishing house and Gaia Thrift coming into play to raise money for the overall project. And in particular, we'll be working on this one. And there will be a chance to do plays. There will be plays we can do. We can do online materials that will be both through the charter membership today. As you know about Lifetime, you can become a full priest. People become wherever they want to be. The outcome of that could be high right now. And later through premium and other services, we'll have all sorts of different ways to handle that. But tonight, the goal is, and let's talk about the last stage. We will buy a piece of land in Danville. And there it is. And we know that in Danville, there are these great buildings. Steel buildings are affordable there. And there's government reductions. There's all sorts of ways. And even without any assistance, we can get a building, brand new, and facility exists. It'll be bare, but we can get that by that time and afford it from where we are today. It'll be tough, but from where we are today, we can do that on our own. And we are not going to do it on because you're going to help us. What we're going to do from there is imagine once it starts getting built in 2028, we'll actually start physically building it. That sort of thing. And that'll mean we'll have covered the permits. That means we'll have covered all the things that we need. We'll be able to stuff that we're making and building and recognizing can be permanently built into where Abby Willowroot Theater is going to be, the center is going to be.
Yes.
Right? And
Absolutely.
you can help with that by creating things that either donate for auctions, you sell directly, and or we get you better. Oh, I'm not going to worry about it. This is why we're in Danville. It literally is not a source. What about security from the fundies? I'm not going to worry about it. We carry, I'm going to be honest, we have Second Amendment pagans down there. Plus,
I have no concerns about that in this location.
And truthfully, and that's because we're in a place that we have lived for a very long time. It's not like we're intruding in anybody's spaces. We learned about that. Hubson was our lesson about entering into people's spaces without understanding. That's why the first year of the project was virtually invisible. We can talk about that. We looked around. We decided, we tested things. We opened a pilot shop, a proof of concept. We're going to reopen that, but we're going to do it differently. We have to, do it smarter. We're smart men. We built a lot. We do rituals there. And the city is small enough that we have a future in politics. meaning
Yeah.
we can affect the politics of the city
Mhm.
by organized votings, by being a part of city council. I've sat in the city council many, many times. So to answer you the question, in truth, I'm already preparing by security, by getting the city government more comfortable with us over the years and prove we're going to be good citizens. We're not going to shock them with saying, oh, we're building this tomorrow. We're giving it 3 years to build that out.
Mhm.
But we're going to go ahead and we're going to let you go, Don, and we're done with this. So we're going to leave you at whichcollege.com. This is only beginning, but I'll give you the last word.
It's a wonderful journey. It's a new direction that's also part of the old direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's going to be a creative adventure for everyone concerned.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a blast to the future for me. So good, folks. Abby Pagan will be back tomorrow. And if you have questions, put them in any of the places that you're seeing it, or just go to whichcollege.com and let me know what you've got. All right, folks. Blessed be.